Now, I'd want to engage and hear from you as I pose this question. How has devolution empowered you? This is our question tonight. How has devolution empowered you? It's a simple and yet weighty question. Now, you can start talking to me on our social media platforms, that is on X and Facebook at K24TV and even at Kameme TV, or even text me on our WhatsApp number that is scrolling at the bottom of your screen, and I'll be sure to air out your views. And by the way, calls are also accepted. Yeah, so go ahead and let's talk matters devolution 13 years later. This is a People Dialogue, and let's just sample a few of the feedbacks that were pending before we transitioned into the English version of the People Dialogue tonight. We start with, this is Facebook, Amo wa Kisumu. This is transitioning from the Swahili broadcast, and he says, huduma za kaunti bado ni za kiwango cha chini. Wafanyakazi wa hospitali hawana vifaa vya kutosha. That is Amo talking to us from Kisumu. Mohamed, good evening Mohamed. He says, miradi mingi haikamiliki kwa wakati. Tunangoja maji safi miaka mingi bila mafanikio. That is Mohamed. You also have Achieng. She says, kila mwaka wanasema kutakuwa na maboresho ya shule, lakini fedha zinaishia mfukoni mwa viongozi. We have Mulei also on WhatsApp. Good evening Mulei. Mulei says, kuna ukosefu wa usawa, maeneo mengine ya county yanapendelewa zaidi kimaendeleo kuliko mengine. We also have someone else, Kipto. Good evening Kipto on WhatsApp. Kipto says, miradi mingi inazinduliwa na camera crews, lakini haifanywi vizuri. That is Ohab. We also have Nyambura on WhatsApp. Good evening Nyambura. She says, wameweka streetlights sehemu moja tu, huku kwetu bado giza. We'd also love to hear from where you're watching us from, Nyambura. Mohamed also says, water project imekaa miaka mitatu bila kumalizika. We also have Cheruyot on WhatsApp. Good evening Cheruyot. He says, county health services bado ziko chini, hakuna dawa na vifaa hospitalini. Let's get another one from Kong on WhatsApp. Good evening Kong. Yeah, baadhi ya wards zinapendelewa na maendeleo, sisi wengine tunaachwa nyuma. That is Kong watching us. So that is the last set of feedback from Kong that is transitioning from the Swahili edition. And right about now, remember, we posed the question of the day for the English set. We are asking, 13 years later, how has devolution empowered you? And right about now, tonight we are coming to you live from here in Nairobi and also Homa Bay County. And we cross over now to Homa Bay Live with my colleague Brian Amwai. People Dialogue Edition, Homa Bay. Take it on, Brian. Good evening.
For that, and of course, we are still continuing with our conversation here on the People Dialogue from Homa Bay County, County 043, taking stock of devolution 13 years later. What are some of the hits and misses? Are the people of this county and Kenya in general feeling that they are represented? Has service actually been devolved? And to continue this conversation, of course, we had to release that is Dr. Henry Gishanja, who was the devolution and research lead at Katiba Institute. And joining this particular set is Michael Kojo Otieno, or better yet, what do I say? The people shall. Thank you so much for joining us here. I want to throw it to Chege before I come to you, Mike. 14 functions. The president today did announce that those 14 functions that had been devolved have been delineated already, and he's proud to announce that. Yet, when it comes to matters financing, there's still an issue, because there's the conversation that is happening in regards to, if you're going to transfer the functions, then you also need to transfer the money. Let me start with this one first. Do we believe that with the government having transferred these particular functions, now service will somehow come closer to the people as opposed to what we've witnessed before?
Thank you. Number one is that Schedule 4 of the Constitution divides the function that Part 1 are national and Part 2 are county. Now, in the ones that are in Part 2, the ones that were were cross-cutting, that's the bit the president fully devolved. And so there are others, there's still areas of collaboration, but whatever was hindering, with the now attendant funds, because the function, money must follow that function. once they get the money that is supposed to follow it up, then automatically it's now fully a county operational thing. And so that is what we need to be tracking, or media should be following up, and the people who look into seeing if it's done in the best way, they need to be following up on that. There's still work in progress. There's still a lot of back and forth before it is really smoothened, but at least it's a start.
Okay.
That after 10, 13 years of devolution, at least you can say now no function is hanging on any side.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next will be, does the money allocated to the county governments, and right now, as we speak, enough to be able to finance all these functions that have been transferred away? Ideally, but as they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We wait and see if at least this, because the financial year is new, let's see how it's going to go. Maybe we can take stock 6 months from now, 1 year. Then by the time the next devolution conference is here, maybe we should be coming to ask, this is what we agreed on, where are we? Yeah. Okay. Mike, when I was talking to you behind the scenes, we were talking about how you've been able to engage in the conversation around devolution, taking stock from 2013 all the way to 2024, looking at the Auditor General's report and all that. From your own assessment, where are we with devolved units?
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity now to come in front. I'm always used to sit at the back so that I can throw. But that having said it, from the stock we've taken from the social audit we've carried out from 2013 up to 2024, looking at both the Auditor General's report, Controller of Budget, Salaries and Remuneration Commission. Salaries and Remuneration Commission deals with the allowances, the packs which the majority leader is supposed to get, a minority leader, the speaker, the clerk. There has been a tangle on that, whereby you will find that, like mileage, there are certain persons within the legislature, within the devolved system of governance, who are supposed to get a given amount of cash. But we will find certain characters are coming in. Like, if you've been elected as an independent candidate, you are not a minority leader. It is affecting some counties, and we've seen some of the reports from the SRC. The other ambit of which also we have is with regard to Public Finance Management Act. Complying with the Public Finance Management Act has been a challenge to most of the devolved system units, whereby you will find that if you look at the control of budget, the ceiling is beyond what is expected. Even if you look at Nancy Gadungu's reports, you start with Edward Ouko coming to Nancy Gadungu. Most of the devolved system of governance, including even the assemblies themselves, are getting, and some are getting unqualified opinion and advanced opinions from the Auditor General's report, and yet no action is being taken.
Okay.
Like, for instance, you might find that certain county assemblies, I so call them the characters, have been given an allowance past what the SRC expects them to be getting. Somebody is saying that they are going to Arusha for a given trip, but if you follow up, that Arusha trip people never went to. People only came back and signed per diems, and then they go away with those cash without doing anything to the members of the public. Those are in Auditor General's report, not our report, because the work of the Auditor General is to audit the public accounts on behalf of the Kenyan citizens.
Okay.
Yes.
What will be? How does the county assembly come in when it comes to now keeping all this in check and just holding those that are actually mismanaging the counties rather to account?
In Nairobi, I'm in the county public accounts committee, and what we do, we scrutinize the report that has been brought by the Auditor General and investigate further, come up with a report, and prescribe action. And the actionable things we've done, others pushing to EACC, others to other investigating authorities,
Okay.
others we actually recommend for removal or whatever it is. And the others which also we put them to go to Senate, and Park Senate also takes charge, and you've seen the Senator Kajwang, which has a committee really moving up with it.
Okay.
So it's again, it's work in progress. It's work in progress. And that's why I'm saying it's good to quantify what happened maybe 5 years ago. You find county assemblies, county governments that are moved from adverse, moving upwards to actually from disclaimers to adverse to qualified, moving up.
Okay.
So it's work in progress. I would say that, and then so let's see how it goes, especially now with the financial autonomy. I guess maybe more space is going to be given for better oversight work.
All right. Now, I want to throw it over to the audience. And, of course, as we wait for Majibu Kisau, you have the mic. Let me begin with you. What would be the best way for you as a citizen of this nation and this county to actually be governed?
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
My name is Evelyn Cynthia, and let me start by a quote. Yeah, it's not the size of the fight to a dog. It's the dog that will fight. And thank you for that. I'm going back, Mr. Chege. I have some questions for you. Ulisema vizuri, mimi mwananchi, mimi kama youth, nitakubaliwa kuingia mahali popote within Homa Bay County. For example, we have Arboretum. Mimi kama Cindy, Dave, ama Tony, tutakubaliwa? You have the answer. Second, ninaingia kwa sekta ya health. Mimi personally, I can be sick. Lakini ukienda hospitali, the only medicine you will get there, either dawa ya malaria ama Panadol. The rest utambiwa, go and buy outside. Nani hospitali ya serikali? Naingia kwa sector education. Tunaumia kama ma youth. We cannot further our education. Why? Why? Naenda kwa agriculture. Hii devolution ilikuwa ya mama mboga, agriculture sector. Lakini unapata mtu akona honey, akona peanuts zake anauza nje. Why? Because he or cannot afford 50,000 to pay to get inside here. So
kwa nikuulize,
yeah.
Nimerudi Amwai. Nikuulize, hakuna kitu chochote ambacho unaweza sema kwamba nimefaidika nacho kutokana na ugatuzi?
To me, na.
Asante. Mpatie mwenzako paza sauti hapo kando. Hajapata nafasi ubingwa, nilimhepo wakati ule mwingine. Nitakuja kwa kaina shida. Tuanze hapo nyuma basi. Bingwa ni tunaelewa, alafu pia tulikuwa nawe jana pia. Lakini tukumbushe ndio nani, alafu pia tueleze ugatuzi miaka 13 baadaye umefaidika vipi wewe kama kijana, kama Mkenya wa kawaida, na pia kama mkazi wa Homa Bay?
Okay, asante sana Mr. Speaker. Kwa majina naitwa
Wameisikia mabado.
Mr. Speaker sir. Kwa majina naitwa Tony Blair, ama ukipenda Kapi, meaning captain. So as you can see, I'm here fully. And I've as you can see also I've represented many. First and foremost, I'd like to appreciate the Royal Media, that's K24, for hosting us. And secondly, I think this is the right time also to say that honesty we have welcomed our Excellency Mr. President William Samoei Ruto to this county of endless potential. I hear people saying endless potential, but I think I'll talk that. Nitaongelea hiyo wakati ki. So thirdly, I think you have asked a good question more about the devolution, and I think devolution is just a matter of delegation. It's just a matter of delegation of power now to the county government. So far with the delegation or the retardation of power now to the county government, I think a lot is happening. Within Homa Bay. Not that I'm opposing the county, no, I'm not after that, because one or two reasons, I think you know them. Because you talked about Mr. Chege, I recognize you talked about something so essential, about this excessive use of power. Now, as you can see, tuko na wamama mboga, and honestly they are not here, but I must say that I'm representing them. So one, you get that walitolewa mali walikuwa nauza. And why? You know, hawezi amka asubuhi ambie mtu nataka utoke hapa. Unaona, manake tuko na devolution. Not knowing that huyu mwenye unatoa hapa ndiye analipa nini? Ushuru, analipa tax. So I think if they could have a given, or they could set up a criteria of maybe on how they can talk to these mama mbogas, ama kuwawekea maybe a given place or a given setup mali wanaweza uzia hizi mamboga, ingekuwa sawa. Other than kuwapeleka mali kuna security, hakuna light, hakuna vitu mingi. Then number two also,
kwa kifupi tu, alafu nikwambie ni Media Max.
Yes.
K24 na Kameme Serial Media.
Absolutely. The way you have said it. Yes. So I want also to talk about another thing as well. You know, we are youths. Kila mtu hapa akona hoja yake. We have different kinds of grievances. And Mr. Chege, because I don't know whether our president is watching this show, so I think this is the right time so far that you can talk to him maybe. If you can, unajua sahi tuko Homa Bay and you have a state lodge around. I think the same way that he did to the youths within Homa Bay town, or Homa Bay, Nairobi County, the same thing he can also do on our side as youths of Homa Bay, because tuko na vitu mingi. Unajua hata unaweza kuwa kijana alafu vitu zikoe kwa kichwa, unaweza waza sasa nianze kuambia nani? Manake ukienda saa kwa ndugu anakuambia hapana, yeah? So kuna pia wakati unaweza sema acha sasa nijaribu kwa mzee, maybe mzee anaweza tatua.
Asante bingwa. Akikosa kufikisha ujumbe nitamtumia link ya show WhatsApp, ataona.
Yes, na bado sijamaliza.
Kwa kifupi tu, wengine pia pata nafasi ya kuzungumza.
Thank you. So there are a lot that we have, by the way, and Mr. Chege, we are youths. Tuko na vitu mingi sana. Asa tungependa tuinue wengine pia. Kitu inajiita youth empowerment. We want to empower our fellow youths. And one, we have got something, tuko na kitu inaitwa youth empowerment funds. Kama Tony, mimi sijaiona hiyo pesa. So I think this is the right time so far we have to talk about this.
Asante. Wacha ni mwenzako pia kando yako, mbele yako kunradhi, hajazungumza, alikuwa ananiangalia, usinilaumu sana. Ni kweli tunazungumzia kutokuwa na uwazi kwenye zile fedha za county, na ambao ni jambo ambalo pia linazalisha ufisadi. Je, kwanza nikuulize, unahisi kuna uwazi katika zile fedha za county ama bado kuna changamoto?
Thank you very much. If I want to start, my name is Julius Ouma, a resident of Homa Bay County.
Naomba ongeze sauti kidogo tukusikie.
Okay,
Bwana speaker kusikie.
Thank you. My name is Julius Ouma, a resident of Homa Bay County. If we take it that the funds that are being sent to the county governments, for me, I can say that I've never seen anything happening on the ground that we can say that maybe, I just don't know how to put it, but
nasema hakuna chochote.
There's nothing happening on the ground.
Mpatie mwenzako nyuma yako, alafu nije upande huu mwingine Kwanza unaitwa nani, alafu pia tueleze, sijakuuliza hili swali, umenufaika vipi na ugatuzi mpaka sasa hapa Homa Bay?
Hadi sasa
Naomba usimame tafadhali tukuone.
Okay, my name is Eugene Odhiambo Bisa, and I'm a resident of Homa Bay. Up to now, as a youth, I'm now talking as a youth of Homa Bay and as a youth of a youth in Kenya. You know, devolution is supposed to help the people of Kenya and the people who are in the devolved system of government. So as in Homa Bay right now, we have the Governor's Park. As you can remember, the speaker of Bunge la Wananchi, he was saying that when people are called to take part in public participation, they don't get a chance to speak and issue their grievances, and there is no space where they can do that. Yet there is a Governor's Park where governor does only his things, and if you want to maybe do something there, you have to pay some amount. And this is a Governor's Park where people should go and meet, talk about their issues. So that's not okay. Secondly,
Kwa kifupi tu.
Okay, I just want to say, during public participation, people are supposed to talk about issues of development. Where here in Homa Bay, the county offices are off town, and that's not supposed to be like that. If people are involved in this kind of issues, that could have taken place. Yeah.
Asante. Na mbona nafaa kumrejeshia mwenzangu Brian Amoyo upande huu mwingine, lakini pia kwa kifupi tu, kuna dada hajaongea upande huu mwingine. Naomba upate kipaza sauti, aongee kwa kifupi tu. Je, umenufaika vipi na ugatuzi kufikia sasa, before nirudishie mwenzangu Brian Amoyo upande huu mwingine? Naona nacheka, kuna matunda ya ugatuzi upande wako.
Okay, my name is Scholastica Barchumba, and I'm a mother of 4. And I want to say, as a young mothers, we are happy about devolution. We personally, watoto wangu wameenjoy matunda ya devolution. I was happy today when the governor for Homa Bay said that it's marked the 96th day where we've not lost any mother during childbirth. And I want to say that we are so happy that at grassroots we are able to enjoy the health care services freely. Even the president says that at level 1 and level 2 and level 3 we're not supposed to pay anything to access the health care.
Unasema watoto wamenufaika, na wewe mwenyewe je?
Mimi pia kama mama, I've gone to the hospital, given birth and paid nothing. So generally we say thank you to the.
Asante. Nimekuambia alikuwa anacheka, alikuwa anafurahia. Kuna mwenzako anapinga hapa nyuma yako, mpatie nafasi alafu mrejeshie mwenzangu Brian Amoyo upande huu mwingine.
Asante sana. Mimi naitwa Ru, mkazi wa Homa Bay. Kwanza kabisa ningeweza kushukuru kabisa na naweza kukaribisha hapa katika ugatuzi huu wa Homa Bay. But there is one thing I just want to say. Whenever we are just giving these issues kindly to all wananchi or to all citizens, let us just be fair enough to speak the truth, because this is our nation. And in as much as that we don't want to tell the leaders the truth, then remember the kids we are having, they're just going to have a lot of problems in the near future. So let us not do the same mistakes whereby our parents did those mistakes. So we should not do the repetitions of the mistake in these particular forums, but let us stand by the fact. Despite the fact that we might be in the county governments earning some money as the salary, but remember that salary is not enough for your life and the life of the kids you are having. But here, we need to speak the truth. Otherwise, I could have spoken more, but let me just stop at that particular time.
Asante, kutakuwa na muda wakati mwingine. Amwai, kazi kwako.
All right, and of course here for the final thoughts on this particular conversation, devolution 30 years later, hits and misses. That is what we're focusing on tonight. Of course, I just want to give my panel here on set, for, a minute each one of them before I take it back to Mumbi in studio. Let me start with you, Mike. You have final thoughts on this conversation, just 1 minute.
Okay, thank you very much for having us to discuss these pertinent issues affecting the devolved system of governance as anchored under Article 174 supported together with County Assembly Services Act, supported together with County Governments Act. Those ones, I think, are subsidiary legislations giving effect to default system of governance, without leaving the Public Finance Management Act as well as the subsidiary legislation act. But in essence, my hit to all the leaders who are representing us in the devolved system of governance, we want them to know that they are in those positions to serve the people. They are there to serve Otieno, Wanjiku, Ahmed, all the way up to Vanga.
Okay.
They need to listen to the plights of the people. The other thing I wanted to tell the governors, let them always attach staff establishment.
Okay.
Staff establishment. That one we will deal with the so-called big elephant in the room, failure to account for persons who are employed within the devolved system of governance.
Right.
The reason as to why I'm saying this is that you will find that a governor or this board has appointed certain characters to work for them, and then they'll stop them. And if you look at the job group of these people, they may be earn like 30,000 ama 40,000. Unataka kuwekwa without salary for 4 to 5 months. Hii pesa inaenda wapi? So hapo ndio unapata kuna mwanya ama jamaa wanavuja nayo mali ya umma. But on the flip side, on the other side is that for those projects which have been initiated by either the other governors, they need to complete them so that watu waone matunda ya devolved system of governance. Thank you
for your feedback here. Chege, final remarks generally. What do you, when you see today's event and also just in the coming days, what do you see as the future of devolution moving forward?
For me, number one is that as a hit, this conversation would not have happened, I think, 10 years ago.
Okay.
And it's a good conversation that is going on. I've heard what Cynthia said, Tony, the gentleman who wants us to keep on telling the truth. And why I even stayed up to now is so that the younger people, especially in the audience, feel we just don't want to be in the conferences where they are not there.
Okay.
And then when they are there, we are not there.
All right.
So I wanted to make that statement by staying and also being available to be questioned.
Okay.
So that they feel that power belongs to them.
Mm.
And I'm serious when I mean that arboretum belongs to the people of Homa Bay.
Okay.
And they should own it and they should make it theirs.
All right.
And not just on paper, but to move your meetings from the streets to that amphitheater because it is yours.
All right.
And so for me, the hit is that. The miss for me is that democracy requires a lot of vigilance.
Mm-hmm.
And freedom also requires a lot of vigilance.
All right.
So you keep on fighting. If you've moved, Michael was telling me, we've been fighting about that financial autonomy all through. But somehow you are hard, sometimes you are booed, but you keep on moving until you get somewhere.
Okay, thank you.
And with every step, it gets you closer to what you want.
All right.
And so the younger people here and in the audience, maybe you haven't gotten exactly what you want,
Mm-hmm.
and your big push is not the positions. Your big push is good governance.
All right.
It's a lot of push, but you keep pushing. You
Okay.
keep pushing. Don't give up. Don't tire. If the election comes, you don't like this face, there's a face better.
All right.
Put that face and you keep moving.
Okay, thank you so much. That is Honorable Chege Mwaura, who is the member of County Assembly, that is Ngara, and also Secretary General, County Assemblies Forum. And of course, Michael here, thank you so much for making time. And our audience, thank you so much for gracing this particular show here. Of course, it is the People Dialogue because it is a conversation for the people, by the people. I want to throw it back to studio where this conversation continues on the hits and misses of devolution. The team there continues with this conversation, of course, led by Mumbi Shage and Theo Masharia. Over to you.
Right, thank you so much, Brian Mwai in Homa Bay County. And indeed, the conversation continues right here on K24 as well as on Kameme TV. This is the People Dialogue. Our focus tonight is on devolution, and President William Ruto did officially open the devolution conference in Homa Bay County. Now, 13 years since the promulgation of Kenya's 2010 constitution, devolution remains one of its most transformative pillars, designed to decentralize power, enhance service delivery, and promote inclusive development. Devolution created 47 county governments tasked with bringing governance closer to the people. As Kenya marks over a decade under this system, then begs the question, has devolution delivered on its promise? Tonight, we delve deeper into the strides made under devolution, the challenges that persist, and whether the hits outweigh the misses. And indeed, with us is Professor Fred Ogolla, who is a governance expert. Thank you so much for being here with us, Prof. And we also have Churchill Suba, who is also a governance expert. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time for us and helping us delve deeper into this conversation. Let's start with you, Mr. Chuba. I beg your pardon, Suba. You were one of the drafters of the 2010 Constitution. You and the other drafters, was what devolution is today, 13 years ago, what you expected it to be?
Yes and no. There is a way in which, yes, I want to confirm that I was one of the framers of the 2010 Constitution, not just the framers, but even one of the agitators of the process itself and negotiators of the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission Act, as it then were, that was negotiated at the Safari Park Hotels in 1997, after, a long spell of mass action.
Yes.
Maandamano, as we call it today. But straight to the question, yes, Kenyans indeed wanted an economic and social structure and governance structure that was decentralized, and despite having different forms of decentralization, from the views that were collected by the Yashpal Gai led commission, the best form of decentralization that Kenyans settled on, and which is adequately captured under Chapter 11 of our Constitution, is devolution. It's one of the most sophisticated, or if you like, advanced forms of decentralization. Now, since 2010, when we adopted, and of course the subsequent election that were held in 2013 under the new Constitution, we have had, hits and misses, as you put it. We have seen, county governments get established. The first crop or generation of county leaderships dwelt a lot on institution building, grappling and literally groping in the dark, because this was a new system that had never been tested before. We had done something to do with the district focus, for example, for rural development, which were forms of decentralization, but which only delegated responsibilities without resources, the accompanying resources. And therefore, it was a completely new thing. And one paradigm shift that came with devolution is that the leaderships of all the 47 devolved units are elected as opposed to being appointed. Because previously we had, the provincial administration system that used to wait for, orders from above, as it were. But now we have elected the representatives that are in charge of making laws, not by laws, as municipal and county council used to. And that comes with a lot of power and influence.
Okay.
And so we have, MCAs that today are the local versions of Waheshimiwa, who are, constant guests in every fundraiser. Of course, there's a lot of challenges with that. But by and large, I would say that overall, we have had, the benefits outweighing some of the challenges that are still there. There is a bit of corruption in the county governments.
Right.
You saw it even in a section of the papers today, where even with the universal health coverage, People sneaked in. Individuals that have no training or professional skills in matters health, you know, people who are trained as carpenters are on the payroll, earning, you know, all that.
Let's get Prof. in on
many
that.
other similar challenges, of lack of accountability, lack of responsive leadership, lack of public participation, because devolution was meant to harness the people's input into the governance processes.
Prof, Mr. Churchill has just spoken about, you know, corruption, and President Ruto did speak on that, as well as other county bosses, you know, in Homa Bay. Do you think that maybe devolution has decentralized corruption?
Yeah, first of all, Mumbi, and I'm not opposed, but I'm just surprised that he says a bit of corruption. I don't think that, maybe my brother Churchill is a diplomat.
What would you term the kind of corruption we've seen under devolution?
It's been huge corruption. And, you know, as an economist, this thing is not about rocket science. Numbers can speak. We talk about input, output, outcome, and impact. So, since devolution, they have devolved 4 trillion to the county governments. Now, take these counties as a startup. If I give you 4 trillion to start a business, which kind of business can you own in Kenya? And just to give an example, the largest bank in Kenya by branch numbers is KCB. The core capital to start KCB is 5 billion, just 5 billion only. Safaricom's core capital was around 7.8 billion. Do you want to tell me these counties are bigger than Safaricom? No, they are not. Safaricom is found everywhere. Like even if you go to the CBD, when you look left, you see Safaricom. You look behind, you see Safaricom. If you look left, right here, do you see any county? These people have been disbursed 4 trillion. No county can tell you they can collect garbage successfully, not even Nairobi. Now let's go now to Homa Bay, where we are, because it's good to talk to the people of Homa Bay, which has become a very famous county for many reasons that I don't want to talk about now. Let's not assume, they have received 10 billion per year for 13 years. That's 130 billion shillings since they were started. Go to Homa Bay. What do they have there? They can't collect garbage. They cannot offer water. Healthcare is still a problem. There are no drugs in hospital. They can't run anything. So I'm asking myself, what is going on? Ghost workers is the order of the day, not just in Homa Bay. In Kisii it was perverse, isn't it? Nairobi is the issue. So he's not pointing out at any county in particular. It is just overwhelmingly corrupt.
But, you know, governors today termed healthcare services as one of the main milestones. We'll be talking about that. Thank you so much. We're going to be taking a short break, but we're going to get back to this conversation. Remember, tonight it's all about devolution as the devolution conference goes on in Homa Bay County. Don't go anywhere.
Kameme TV, Muthegi wa Ruriri.
Kama ungekuwa strict kwa watoto wako, Fifi would not be in this situation.
Oh, so now we're the best person kabisa kumguide.
Ama nisonge kando muendele kuwana kama wajinga.
I gave you one job sting. You're stupid.
Who doesn't want to be around Jackie Matibia?
I'm priceless, trust me.
I don't have to tell you, like, you have to treat me like a boss.
Naeza kuwa sina godfather, sina any support system, lakini kwa uwezo wake Mwenyezi Mungu, in one way or the other, one day one time, mambo yangu itakuja kuwa sawa. One day one time.
Kwigwatira skize tune one day one time. Hihinya star 811 star 227 hasha. Wigwatira skize tune one day one time. Thimu-ini yaku umuthi star 811 star 227 hash.
People Daily, Kenya's trusted newspaper, is making history as the first daily to go fully digital. By transitioning from print to the PD News app, we are delivering the same exceptional journalism you've relied on for years in a completely new way to experience it. It's news for today and the future. No paper, no waste. Just real-time updates and customizable stories. This is a leap towards innovation, sustainability, and a better experience for you, our reader. Download the PD app now on Play Store and App Store. People Daily. News that moves with you.
Ngoro yakwa nĩ gũkwambararia ĩkũgocage hingo ciothe, we wanjamithirie irathimo ciaku ũgĩtũma nduĩke mũira wa ũtonga waku. Nĩ thengio nĩ marĩa ũnjĩkagĩra, ona ngũhĩtĩirie no ũthiaga na mbere na kũndathima, na nĩkĩo ndoiga ngoro yakwa ĩgũtũũre thererũkĩte ĩgũcokagĩria ngatho nĩ marĩa ũnjĩkagĩra. Rũgambi rũrũ rwa ngoro yakwa rũthondeketwo rũtuĩke ũira kũrĩ andũ arĩa marakũhũrĩra. Rĩrĩa marakũhũrĩra magathikĩrĩria mawĩko marĩa Ngai agwĩkĩire.
Kwigwatira skize tune ngoro yakwa. Hihinya star 811 star 487 hash. Wigwatira skize tune ngoro yakwa tarugambi thimu-ini yaku umuthi ukeni aria othe marakuhurira thimu star 811 star 487 hash.
Kameme TV, Muthegi wa Rũrĩrĩ.
And watching the People Dialogue 13 years later matters the devolution. Remember, when we were starting, we posed the question and asked you, how has devolution empowered you? How has devolution empowered you? And my goodness, a flurry of reactions coming in across our social media platforms. That is WhatsApp, Facebook, and X at K24 TV and also at Kameme TV. Remember, the question of the day was, how has devolution empowered you? So right about now, let's take this opportunity and sample what it is that you have to say 13 years later and matters devolution, whether it has worked for you or not. I can see WhatsApp is blowing with comments and reactions. We have Linda from Kajiado. Good evening, Linda. And Linda says, since devolution, maternity services at the county hospital have improved a lot for mothers in rural areas. That is Linda from Kajiado speaking on behalf of mothers from rural areas. We also have Abdi, who says the county government has drilled boreholes, so our livestock now have water during dry seasons. Interesting. We also have Peter watching us from Nairobi, I bet. He says devolution has made it easier to get business licenses locally instead of traveling to Nairobi. Oh, he's watching us away from Nairobi, and he says traveling to Nairobi has been saved from that. We have Brian. Good evening, Brian. He says some county contractors abandon projects halfway but still get paid. That is Brian talking to us in Matters Devolution. David from Taita, Taveta County. Good evening, David. David says there is still too much political interference in how county funds are spent. That is David watching us from Taita, Taveta. We also have Zainab. Zainab says security is still poor in some areas, yet the county budget for it is high. Matters Security, Zainab expressing concern when it comes to matters security. Indeed, keep your comments coming on our social media platforms and I'll be sure to air them right here. Mumbi Shege, you've heard what Kenyans are saying. Maybe to throw one of it to your guest right there in studio. One of the viewers said that they believe governors should be elected and then get devolved to various counties because they believe this is going to curb corruption and tribalism. I don't know what it is that your guests have to say from that side of Studio Mumbi. Shege, over to you in Studio A, Mumbi.
Thank you so much, Dio Masharia, for that feedback. Of course, people, Kenyans expressing various views on devolution. Thank you so much for staying with us here on K24 as well as on Kameme TV. This is the People Dialogue. We continue to delve deeper on the issue of devolution. Now, let's come to you, Prof. Fred Ogola. We were just talking about, services like, healthcare services and whatnot. 14 services right now have been devolved. County bosses today said that it's one of the milestones under devolution. What services, according to you, do you think should have remained under national government?
Yeah, especially health could have remained under national government. Because, you see, if you look at the constitution of China, you look at the one for US, they have defined healthcare in terms of national interest. There are some things you cannot devolve, you cannot delegate. For example, when healthcare fails, you see people coming from Bandamano in Afya House. So if it is fully devolved, why should people not go to maybe the people Meru go to Meru governor? And it can be a confusion. So healthcare, you don't know where you're going to get sick in. You might be from Embu, but you get sick in Kisumu. So healthcare really should not be. I remember even during the COVID-19, the US has got 50 states, but it was very clear on the war between Trump and the governor of New York that there are some roles that were national, like, for example, trying, testing, and the rest. For example, remember during COVID-19, whenever there was a crisis, which was healthcare, you could find that mostly it was CS Kagwe that was in charge of those things. So things like health, things like education, those ones should remain at the national level. But the thing is not even which one should remain. The issue was that you cannot give somebody who has never run anything big to run 14 services as a Big Bang Theory. I told you, the biggest problem in devolution was that the speed of devolving was too hard. They used Big Bang Theory. They just left and dropped, boom, from national government to the county government. So these people had no offices. Tell me, before they were elected, which county had an office of the governor? None of them even had. You don't even have a team. You have no infrastructure. Then you have just been given 14 services to do. And I'm sure, like Brother Churchill was saying, some people really thought they wanted everything. Even in a meal, normally when you have serving bowls on the table, normally you cannot bring the whole sophria on the table so that people can eat at the same time. Because you need to eat in bits. In fact, if they accepted to do in bits and pieces, build capacity as they take the jobs. But here there was just a hurry of tech because of the money which was going down there, rather than not thinking about whether you have capacity to run it. And that's why I realized that drugs are rotting at the national government, while hospitals are lacking drugs.
All right, let's get Mr. Suba in on this. Were there any unintended consequences that maybe you didn't foresee?
Yeah, of course, one of the unintended consequences of devolution is the lack of capacity. Prof has already alluded to it, that when we rolled out devolution with the 2013 elections, I think held around March 2013, most governors found themselves having to grapple with what devolution is. And so those of us who are in the civil society had to go down and try to build capacities of even MCAs on what their roles are, even county executive, because the county executive committee members were being appointed for the first time. There is no institutional memory of that kind of system. Remember, we had the county councils, municipal councils, and city councils, and most of the rural areas had, at best, municipal councils in urban areas and county councils in rural. Now, all these were merged into a county assembly. And they did not, they were not very clear on what some of these functions were. Secondly, of course, is the issue of, corruption that we have alluded to. I know for a fact that, there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of nepotism, clanism, because at the national level, we have had tribalism to contend with. But as you continue going down, then you have all these other isms coming in, and mostly it is about clanism and nepotism and so on and so forth. We have seen instances where anytime new governors come into office, they do the staff audit. And there are a lot of bad things. But the question is, what next? Even in counties where such audits have been done, and it has been established that some people are the so-called ghost workers, names that have been put there. I must confess that I used to have a relative who used to be a tout in Oyugis, but was on the payroll of Homa Bay County government in the first leadership of that county. And they used to nose around for who is speaking ill of the governor at that time and so on and so forth. Yet, the guy is just, touting in the urban centers.
Mr. Suba, you just
So there is a
mentioned-
lot of
yes.
that kind of stuff that was not intended,
Okay.
There was supposed to be one of the objectives of devolution was to bring accountable exercise of power. Now, lastly, and as I finished to hand over to my colleague, is that those 14 functions, the 14th function of county governments, which they barely perform, was to build capacities of local communities to be able to understand and engage in the governance processes at the county level. Now, I am not sure whether there is any county that budgets for it, and if they do, then it could be the slush fund that they use whenever they want to go benchmarking and holidaying, in Dubai, in Seychelles, and so on and so forth. Because we have never seen, for example, functions like civic education, communication framework, and so on, established. County Budget and Economic Forum.
All right.
None of them seems to function, and we do not know whether even those that have established them, ever
Right.
meet.
All right,
to
Prof,
impact
Kenyans
on
are
the-
still, struggling when it comes to understanding the various roles under, devolution. What is the role of a governor, senator, MCA, and, member of parliament, and so on. So what needs to be done to strengthen this or make Kenyans understand better? Also, talking about the theme for this year, for the people for prosperity, looking at the conference today, the speakers, does it seem like Kenyans, ordinary Kenyans, are in any way involved in this whole process so far?
Yeah, first of all, let me say that Kenyans cannot really get the right thing because the politicians have the microphone. So even if people like Churchill and I go, who will listen to you? If you go to a funeral where people are, and most civic education takes place in funerals, in weddings, and churches. So, Bwana Churchill, if we go with you to a funeral in Homa Bay, who will get the mic? Will you get the mic? If you speak and you don't put money, no one listens what you are saying. For example, sasa nishaongea yangu chukua 10,000. Then the guy will say, mimi nimeweka hapo 100,000. Whom do they listen to? So the leadership of political leadership are not spending time to tell people what they need to be. A speaker of the National Assembly by the name Moses Wetangula said in Parliament that MPs are village ATMs. That is not my words, isn't it? Now, how do you expect people to know that? So what needs to be done is maybe Kenyans need just to go look at them. So that's why I really appreciate the Gen Z, the young people. They went with the technology. They use the technology, AI, to really cut through what these things are. And they present a very succinct information to people. So I believe that it's going to be the citizens themselves to educate themselves. Because if you go to church, if you are not having money, you don't get the mic to talk. And if you talk and put nothing, no one listens to what you're trying to say. Because money says rules. But let me go to the conference, because I think this is where I have actually looked through this conference and looked at the theme.
Mm-hmm.
I've looked at this theme for people for prosperity. And they're talking about devolution as a catalyst for equity, inclusion, and social justice. This one, if this can be achieved, we can go very far, Bwana Churchill, and Mumbi as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, if you go to that conference, I've looked at the theme of the conference, then I look at the speakers. There's no correlation between the theme of the conference and the speakers. Because the speakers are honorables, you Baraza, honorables, you Nani. Even the president is speaking about it. And I don't think the president has tackled those issues. If devolution conference will be done, there is no academic, hard-nosed academic on matters of devolution. Drafters are sitting here in studio, yet people who have no clue are on the ground speaking. But also, if you look, what is it that is trending about the youth evolution? One thing I saw trending was the president is roasting fish there. That's trending. Maybe that's the theme of the conference. The second thing was Bunge FC having beaten Council of Governors, isn't it? The third thing, actually the first one which was trending, was these people dancing to music, the local music there sung by
What do you think should be the priority?
What
during
should the priority
conference?
is, where are we coming from as a country? With the, like, for example, what Wakina Churchill were drafting. What was Churchill, by the way, let me be honest by saying, in 1999 I was in Form 3. So can you imagine how far I am from this? So 1997 I was in Form 3, not 99. Someone can shoot me for not saying the truth. 1997 I was in Form 3. Form 2 actually, then 98.
I was finishing university.
98 I was in Form 3,
Okay.
99 I was in Form 4. So that's a long time ago. Those are the aspirations of devolution. Now, these people should be there talking about where are we coming from, what was the intention. Then we talk about what has been achieved. So where are we now? And now where we need to be. But here, when I look at all the speakers and the topics they're discussing about, I don't see anybody wanting to give a scorecard for devolution. We have been asking, has someone designed a scorecard on how you can measure? And I can tell you, you hear some counties saying, oh, this county is doing much better than the others. In economics, we talk about impact. If they see they have achieved healthcare, have we reduced child mortality in Homa Bay? And please allow me to explain to you something very important. In terms of life expectancy, Homa Bay is the last county in Kenya, number 47 in life expectancy. Number 1 is Bomet. Of course, Bomet has got good hospitals. It has got good medicine, those herbal medicines, but also the environment. You walk a lot. You know, remember the twists and turns and good food. So you can live longer in Bomet than any other county. Okay. But Homa Bay, you can die quickly because life expectancy is around 52. Now, Homa Bay, we should be discussing about the issues of that mosquito that spreads malaria like wildfire, isn't it? HIV that is ravaging Homa Bay. Homa Bay has the highest number of NGOs giving support to communities. These should be issues that should be discussed. Where is Homa Bay with devolution? And at the same time, opportunities. Do you know how Homa Bay is privileged with the water there, with the land masses there? We are discussing about opportunities that can take Homa Bay further. Not that people are dancing on the streets. I could see those people dancing. It's a lot of fun people are having. Even someone has even alluded to so many stories I can't say on the media. But what I'm trying to say is that we are not seeing leadership in terms of economic development. We are not seeing people giving a clear scorecard and recommendations. If I was there, because I have an operation in Gatuzi, I could have told them, maybe as an economist, where should we be? They should be discussing about the president's bottom up. Bottom up now could be, how can Homa Bay come from number 47 in terms of like it's number 1?
So
That's
for
now
instance,
bottom.
when we hear, you know, maybe a county like Murang'a is doing really well, isn't that the true representation of how it's doing?
No, because you see, before we boasted that Machakos was the best county in terms of governance because of PR. Let me tell you what Mumbai. In God we trust, let's bring numbers. Let the governor of Murang'a tell us how many children can access education and be able to transition from nursery, primary, to secondary, to university without interruption. How has those numbers improved? How is the child mortality, maternal mortality rates, where have they gone? How much is it easier to get a job in Murang'a? We need to hear these things.
All right.
How much is, let's say, access to food? How much secure is Murang'a? What is the GDP growth of Murang'a? As you know, GDP can also be measured in a region. Let us look for numbers. Let us not do PR, because PR has misled Kenya in many ways.
Let's get Mr. Suba in on this. Do you agree with that? I mean, what kind of metrics is used to measure, you know, what county is doing better, which one is not? Is the data we're presented with accurate or not accurate?
A lot of, in fact, when he started by talking about input, output, impact, and so outcomes and impact. If we are talking about the 9th Devolution Conference, and 11 years, now in fact 12 years of devolution, we should be at that conference talking about how devolution has impacted on the lives of people. How, for example, one of the metrics is using is the HIV infections, for example, in the 4 lake zone counties from Busia, Siaya, Kisumu, Homa Bay, and Migori. That belt has had the highest levels of HIV because of economic activities like fishing, the migratory pattern of fisher folks and so on, where people interact with people they hardly know about, and everybody's an immigrant. But I was glad to hear the governor of Homa Bay say that in the last 96 days, they have not had, mortality at childbirth. No mother has lost life. And that for me is very, very significant. Now, how that is assessed and done independently so that it is not the governor doing it. Today I saw a pullout in a section of the papers. Most county governments, sponsored spaces, supplementary pages in the papers, and each of them were blowing their own trumpet. So to some extent, I've interacted with some of those county governments like Kisumu, and I know some of the things they were saying are true. But is it not time that the Council of Governors introduced mutual evaluation so that a team established of experts like Professor here, who are experts in economics and all that, that devolution was set out to achieve, works under the Council of Governors to do a mutual evaluation review, the kind of stuff that is done at the global level on financing of terrorism, money laundering, and so on, so that you assess, so that it brings out a little bit more honest perspectives than the self-praise that we see in the papers. Because of course, if you buy space using the same resources that have been allocated to a county, people are bound to praise themselves. And a lot of those governors are politicians. They are good at PR and so on and so forth. I know, of course, today we are celebrating Murang'a County as one of the best run. But I'll tell you that Murang'a County has a lot of issues. The other day they wanted to employ the immediate former CEO at TSC. And then the lady declines. And in her decline, she says that she didn't know that it's a permanent job. So that raised a lot of question. First of all, had it been advertised? Or was it being single-sourced? And so on and so forth. Murang'a County government has established Economic Governance Council, something that is completely foreign to the Constitution and the County Government Act. Because what the County Government Act talks about and the Public Finance Management Act under Section 37 is the County Budget and Economic Forum. Now, this so-called governing Economic Council, Advisory Council, is something that is completely foreign to the law. And then you handpick the who is who from Murang'a, therefore shutting out ordinary folks from engagement in the governance process and so on. So there are a lot of issues also, but because they are politicians and quite good at PR, a lot of that is yet to come to the fore. But by and large, on my own assessment, I would say yes, there are few, if you go to Homa Bay, for example, and especially after the current governor came into office, you see a lot of, maram roads penetrating into villages. And that, for me, is critical because if somebody, for example, was to be referred to the county referral hospital, then it means an ambulance can easily go and fetch that person and take that person to the referral hospital, scale it up even to the level of teaching and referral hospital like we now have in Kisumu, in Eldoret, in Nairobi here and so on, and Kenyatta and so on. So those for me are signs. But what we see again, even with such developments, is the poster of the governor and the local MCA side by side, as if it is they who, Yet, the Constitution, again, in Chapter 6, talks about servant leadership, that as leaders, they should endeavor to be self-effacing, remove yourself. But every time we see, a county government issuing a waiver on land rates, it is the picture of the governor that takes 3/4 of the space in the newspaper. Okay. Then the story or the information is squeezed at some corner. Right. Now, that, again, is something the law. Okay. I mean, the courts have ruled against. So how do we hold such manifestations to account? Because they are in contempt of court decisions and so on and so forth.
Let's get Prof in on this.
So we as somebody who framed the Constitution, I can say, yes, there are successes, including those that the governors themselves have enumerated, but counties like, Turkana, Marsabit, those counties that have been traditionally marginalized, really have a lot of work to do and to account for the more resources that they get over and above that is given generally to all the counties, because it takes 1 million shillings generally to sink a borehole. We would want to find out whether in Turkana itself, how many such boreholes have been sunk. We recently saw, for example, schools in Tharaka Nithi County. Okay. I mean, why would we have such schools in a country where, even before devolution, had CDF? Yet, MPs are busy telling us that CDF should be entrenched in the Constitution. Surely, who is the MP of that area where those schools? I can't blame it on the Deputy President, because one, he has never been an MP of a constituency. He came into politics through the Senate, and then now is Deputy President. Right. But for sure, we cannot afford to have the kind of schools we were shown by a section of the media in Tharaka Nithi. More than, the CDF started 2003. That is 21 years ago.
Yeah. Right.
22 years
right.
ago.
Let's
exactly.
get Prof in
more
on
than
this,
2 decades.
Mr. Churchill.
And you still have such schools.
On that same issue, and one of the comments the Omasharia read out was the issue of PR. It's all PR. You're seeing a governor, launching some project, and we've seen that so many times. But you see, the thing is, most Kenyans are gonna go, gonna take that as the gospel truth or as factual going into, the 2027 election and vote for that leader, because that's what we're saying. So I'm going back to the point, Prof. How what needs to be done to better enlighten Kenyans in terms of this is what devolution is all about, in terms of public participation? Do we need a better framework when it comes to that?
Yeah, the question is very important, because if you want to know how they rate some of this Kwanta government, can you imagine Mumbi, some of them are rated on 100% absorption of allocated funds, that if we give you all the money and you have absorbed all the money, then you have done very well, you get a tick on that. So you are likely to be number one for absorbing all funds. But some people return the funds. You heard about whereby some funds allocated were not spent and they have been brought back. Imagine that's one of the matrices. But we are looking at devolution was supposed to bring resources closer to Mwananchi. Has it done that? Secondly, if a president has to open a devolution conference in all 47 counties, did we devolve power? Because that was another thing we're supposed to do. I'm not questioning the president. He can be there as a visitor, but if he is in all 47, if Kibaki was here, could he be in Homa Bay today? Absolutely not. I know him. He would simply say, "Iyo ni kazi yao." But I'm trying to say, we are continuously trying to spend too much resources to do something small. How much does it cost to keep the president in Homa Bay? And if that did not happen, what happened? Like today I was seeing a comparison whereby Samia Suluhu went to pick a certificate somewhere with 1,000 vehicles in the motorcade. If I was the president, I would stop them and ask them, wewe kazi yako ni nini? You are driving ambulance, you are driving escort. Wewe kazi yako, kama hauna kazi, rudisha gari. We are overusing the resources for nothing. But these governors also saw themselves as their presidents. They are called His Excellency, those terms, right? And their wife also becoming. And then we have given too much work. Like I can tell you, statistics are clear. 85% of money allocated to the county are shared between the executive and the county assembly. Where are we going with that? This cannot take the country forward. we know very well that money should go into development. So even the money you're talking about, Marsabit, Mandera, Isiolo, that money is being eaten here. In fact, those people live in Nairobi. They only go there when they're supposed to be seen there. And some of them, they actually do not even know how their counties feel. These are issues we have here. And let me also highlight the fact that the political formation to support the execution devolution has not been helpful. Let me take a case in point, the county of Tharaka Nithi. These are the statistics. The women rep is UDA. The senator is UDA. The governor is UDA. All the MCS are UDA. How can you oversight such a county? Now, UDA people meet in their caucuses simply to decide what happens there. So how can you? And sometimes even in devolution, I also went to presented a bill in parliament, a bill trying to revise that the senator and the governor should not come from the same political party. I also did request that the governor, after finishing his term, should not become a senator immediately, like the case of Mandago. So there's a lot of things still to be done. But as my brother says, I believe that the misses outweighs the hits. If there's any hit, is that these governors were given a big burden on their neck, and imagine immediately they set up the county government. That one, give it to them. Some people, you can give them money and they cannot even set up anything, even just setting up a kitchen, they can't build. But give it to them. Actually, the inaugural governors did do this, and they did set up a county government fully fledged and started running. But now needs to go much further to bring competence. Now, how many cronies are working in the county government? Mm-hmm. People's girlfriends, people's cousins. Like now, every governor being sued, he was doing business with his wife. He was doing business with his family. Now, what are some of the things, Churchill, that you guys drafted the Constitution can be safeguards about these things? And then the other thing now to talk about lastly, the biggest challenge we have in the county government is oversight. And then there's scorecarding. How do you reward people who have not done well? Then if you find, like you talk about the issue of clanism, like my county called Siaya, there's unwritten constitution that once the governor has come from one sub-county for 10 years, he cannot come from the same county. And when the governor comes from this county, sub-county, the senator has to come from the other county. Like, for example, the current governor comes from Ugenya. The previous governor came from Alego Usonga. Now they said the senator must come from Bondo. Then the women must come from Game. And all these people are ODM people. Now, all MCA seems to be from ODM. I'm talking about a lot of oversight. If you go to the US, you just can look properly, you might find that even there's a time when Republicans are struggling when they have won many governors and senators are not from there. Just like, for example, in the upper house and the lower house. But for us in Kenya, there's a wave of political wave. Okay. 6 Ps. This nonsense should end. Okay. People should elect competent people, no matter which party you come from. And then you should not give allegiance to the party. You should give allegiance to the people who elected you. But when you come here, then you start doing all these things. Oh, we are here, we are there. This as well. And then I also want to ask, honestly, we need more young people in political offices. Because you saw what Gen Zs did. They are very direct. They are very clear about what they want. I'm asking Kenyans, on behalf of the young people, please let them occupy the county assemblies. Please let them occupy the National Assembly. Don't say they cannot make it. Try them. Because we have tried all these people. For me, if you have been...
Why do you have so much belief in, the Gen Z, the young people? Why do you think they would do better?
Anybody who has been in these positions for more than 10 years and they cannot show results for anything, why are we recycling them? Why don't you give a chance to those people? Look, Obama was given a chance to be among the youngest president to be elected in the US, even a black. He was having double tragedy. 1, young. 2, black. And he delivered. So what I'm trying to say, we cannot change a system when we just become conservative. Okay. This system is due for disruption.
All right,
and I'm telling Kenyans, like he said, you elect thugs, una elect mwizi wenu, then you start crying. try these young people, because I interact with them every day. I have a lot of faith in them. Some of them have made me think differently from how I used to think. Some of them have partially made me.
All right,
and
Prof.
I give credit to them.
Let's go to the other side, Studio B with Theo Masharia. He has a question from one of the viewers. Theo?
All right, thank you so much, Mumbai Shege. Quite a flurry of reactions here, and two questions are being posed to the other side, maybe to get Ogola's view and also the other guest. One is the issue. There's a question here. Someone wants to understand whether the current revenue allocation formula is fair to all counties and whether counties should be allowed to raise more of their own revenue rather than relying heavily on the national government. That is the first bit that one of the viewers has expressed concern they'd want to understand this evening. And also, Mombi, there was a recommendation prior where one of the viewer told us that the best way to deal with corruption or tribalism in counties is we get to elect governors, and then, for instance, if it's the governor for Nakuru, they get reshuffled to another county after a period of time. Maybe you'd also want to understand from the panelist on the other side whether this is a viable recommendation and whether it is a good way to deal with corruption and the issue of tribalism. Over to you, Mombi, and the guest on the other side.
Thank you so much, Theo. You've heard the questions. Mr. Suba, let's start with you.
Yes, starting with the last question. You know what happens in South Africa? South Africa has constituencies, but nobody gets elected as a member of parliament for a particular constituency because they have a mixed member proportionate system. South Africa is actually a parliamentary system, even though they call their head of state president, because nobody gets voted as president. They vote for the party. But then once the party wins a certain number of seats, then those seats, the members that ANC, for example, gets are assigned to be MPs for particular constituencies. And I think it is good for South Africa because, South Africa is one of the most multiracial societies in the world and in Africa. And therefore, to deal with the racism, the apartheid system that was quite entrenched, they have been able to adequately address that. So perhaps we need to consider that. But one thing that we need to be aware of, even as we talk about, reshuffling governors and senators across the board, is that today's governors are busy investing not in their own counties. The money they have stolen from their counties are invested in another county so that the locals who know do not get to know that this property is owned by this particular governor. And another governor, in whose county the particular county A has invested in, goes to invest in county B. There's a lot of that happening. And so even as we make that proposal, we need to be aware that, corruption in Kenya is so endemic to a point where people will always figure out a way around it so that they are not caught, hopefully. But of course, in the end, the money so generated from such businesses do not end up in the accounts of the host governor. They will still end up in your own, bank account and so on. So perhaps we need to consider that. And if we were to do that, perhaps we need not to limit it to the counties. We need also to do it for the 290 elected members of parliament so that people, can learn to serve others, provided they are Kenyans that are being served. And you remember Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, once said that, in his fight against interreligious, lack of interreligious tolerance, he once said that it does not matter which book is being read, whether it is the Bible for Christians, whether it's the Bhagavad Gita for the Hindu, whether it is the Quran, the common denominator is that the same God is being worshipped. So if all these people are being elected to serve Kenyans, then perhaps it's something that we can think about. But I think it would be, in my view, a bit escapist. Why can't we make corruption one of the most expensive, economic crimes one can commit? Right. Why can't we punish? Okay. Why do we allow politics to get in the way of punishing and holding to account, those who have been found to be corrupt.
Prof, I don't know what your views are on that recommendation.
Yeah, I'm a son of a catechist, so very Roman Catholic. And one of my godfather is called Bishop Zacchaeus Okoth, who is retired now. He used to have this practice that when he gets priests, and he finds a priest who kind of have bad manners, I would call them misbehaving, he would send that priest to his village. And by taking you to your village, you cannot do certain things in your village, but you can do it in another village. And a good performance could be taken to another village. So this made some priests know that, Nikki misbehave, I'll go back to my village. So this was a sort of a strategy of an old man, a wisdom of an old man, and it worked magic. I remember my brother became a priest, and we told him, please work so well that you don't come back to be the priest of our village. So maybe some things you cannot do to your people, but also there are some things you can do to your people. You might take your people for granted also. So I'm sure that these people, that transfer will happen. I would recommend it by instance. But at the same time, let us not just look at reshuffling as an issue. We have to look at what are the key challenges devolution is facing. One, there's resistance to change. Mostly government, national government wants to feel they are in charge of everything anyway. So even if you say devolve them, they still feel they are in charge. Whereby even after election, have you heard after election, how many governors went to start off saying, nimekuja, State House ili, nipate maendeleo. So there must be something there that Wakina Churchill could have done. Capacity gaps. Whether you change this person to another person, whom will he know to take here and there? Some of them can even carry village mate from his village to go and appoint them to another county. So you might even now find total rejection. So sometimes you have to understand that there are some things can happen. Financial constraints. These people have no capacity to collect resources. Like if you come to Nairobi County here, just collecting parking fees looks like a miracle. There's a lot of corruption in parking fees, not just in Nairobi County, everywhere. Can you imagine any time you go and park a car, Churchill, they tell you, siulete tu hiyo pesa usipeane huku. I've told even the time I went to park my car in the airport, I had left my car for 2 nights because I had gone to Mombasa. When I came back, my parking was now ranging to 3,000. Somebody told me, Professor, sinikupatie, hii ni ya 2 hours so that you can pay 200 bob, lakini unipatie 1,000 and I know how I can swap. Imagine those things happen at the airport. So there's a lot of challenges. The issue is corruption and mismanagement.
Okay.
There's a problem. Then lastly, ethics in governments. Then weak framework for implementation. For example, how you do public participation, how you do the CPDs. Is it C?
CIPDs.
CIPDs.
Yes.
Just
CIPDs.
doing the strategic plan. There's a problem there. You procure the cheapest person who maybe is your neighbor or something like that to do a strategic plan. Look at how this country launched strategic plans. Why are we not rating them vis-a-vis their strategy? We're supposed to build 5 hospitals, level 1, level 2, level 3. We're supposed to ensure there is a ratio, doctors to population, inpatient beds to population, ICU beds. You know, there are ways on how you can measure the performance. So because of these gaps which are there, if there's no framework for implementation, anybody will go to another county and do their way, even if they are transferred.
Right.
And lastly, we have to understand something very interesting here, that if you can be able to take somebody from Siaya to go and work in Marsabit, they'll ask for hardship allowances, isn't it? And this, a governor cannot ask for a hardship allowance in his own county. So there's always advantages and disadvantages. Tribalism has not even ended by intermarriages. Somebody is married to a Kikuyu and he hates a Kikuyu. And Kikuyus we marry Kikuyus and they cannot vote for us.
All right,
so
I want to
get tribalism cannot just end by transfer.
All right, Mr. Suba, there's also another issue that was raised about the current revenue allocation formula. Do you think that needs to be relooked at?
Yes, of course, they have been changing it. It has not been static. There was a time, for example, when, because the Commission on Revenue Allocation wanted to promote best practices, they said a county that has established, enacted a law on public participation, you will get this amount. They said a county that has a county budget and economic forum. Now, what did the county governments do? They hired a consultant the Council of Governors, who developed for 1 or 2 counties. Then they went on a cut and paste mission. So they did not even believe in enacting a law for public participation. But because the Commission on Revenue and Allocation wanted to be presented with an act of the county assembly on public participation, so they did it to tick the box and get the monies allocated. So the formula has not been static, and they've been changing it after a period of time. Currently, I know it is based on levels of poverty, and that worries me because, you know, when you get more because of levels of poverty, then such counties are not likely to elevate the economic, economic capacity of their people to get out of poverty, because it attracts more resources. And that's a problem that the Commission on Revenue Allocation has to deal with. They have been allocating on the basis of geographical expanse of a county, on the basis of population. So Kakamega County normally is either second or third after Turkana, Marsabit, and so on, which end up getting more because of levels of poverty, geographic expanse, and so on. And so that population will always be a constant. But I have a problem when a formula is based on levels of poverty, because it becomes an incentive for a county whose population is poor to keep people poorer, because it attracts more resources. Yet they are not applying those resources that they get to emancipate people, you know, from poverty. And so we would want, you know, more public participation in this formula, so that where there is, and we are glad that, you know, at the national level, there is a bill that is currently being reviewed by the Office of the Attorney General on public participation that sets the standard nationally. Because one of the challenges we have had with public participation is that the national government itself has no legal framework and policy on public participation. But we are glad that, you know, through a private member's bill that is currently being reviewed by the Office of the Attorney General, will end up with a legislation, a national legislation, that then will be binding on both 2 levels of government, and therefore that may help to standardize.
Would you say there's too much interference from, you know, the national government? I
do not think so. You know, when counties get their share of national revenue, those resources also come from those counties. There is no money that the national government, you know, taxes people that does not come from, you know, Mandera, Kisumu, and so on and so forth. Other than Nairobi, Mombasa County is the second, you know, best generator of national revenue, contributor of national revenue. The other day, Murang'a County had an investment conference, and we were told that, you know, it contributes, I think, around 2-point-something% into the national economy, and so on and so forth. So all these counties contribute. And so when counties make a demand for their fair share of shareable revenue, they are not asking for a favor. And that money is not coming from the national government. I think what needs to be reviewed, and this has been a subject of discussion for some time, is the percentage that should be allocated to counties that then becomes the subject of division of revenue bill, and so on and so forth. So it has been stuck to the constitutional threshold of not less than 15%. And I think that percentage needs to be increased, because there are people who have stuck to, you know, so long as it is not more than. But the constitutional principle is not less than. So it can even be 40%, it can be 50-50, but of course we are aware that the national government has a lot of functions to contend with, including servicing of, you know, debts that are at times not even used for the purpose for which they have been borrowed.
Yeah, I have a point here that slightly just to add on what my brother Churchill has said, but slightly in a different perspective. Can you imagine health has been devolved fully, but the government retains 65% of health budget at the national level? This is not good. Because they say it's for research, for planning, and for I do not know. But you see what's happening? Health sector exists so that can be a medicine. You know, there's what you call the test of the pudding. Can a medicine like Panadol, arthritis, ulcers, diabetes medicine reach the people we have? I've been in Ugenya I was running there because I was running for an MP one time, is when I saw that people really suffer. Somebody is simply stuck, cannot leave bed because their legs are stiff and painful because of just arthritis. When I went to Uganda, I found that some people have been declared blind, not because they are blind, they just need reading glasses. When I went home, I was distributing reading glasses. Many people are now reading Bible and the rest. I'm trying to say there must be a way on which this 65% must be justified. And I think such topics should be discussed in the devolution conference. Why are you retaining 65% when it is fully devolved? The person who is fully holding the bull by the horns should have the lion's share. Now they say it's for planning, for what, for oversight and for research. What are they researching on? I don't know whether they are researching to have a new medicine for COVID-19. What are they doing? So that's one thing I would like to ask. Another topic that could be very important in this devolution conference is that the president complained, and he has been saying, I cannot do what Kibaki used to do because Kibaki never had a devolved system, because I have to put a lot of money in devolution. So we have to ask, must we continue having the 47 counties? Or we are overburdened by this?
Do you think there have been proposals to reduce?
We shouldn't have 47 counties.
How many should we have?
I can't tell that because I can't get from Kenya, but I'm asking, we should have a convention in Bomas, going back to Bomas, not the conclave. Conclave is another thing. Just go to Bomas and do this review, because if this is touching on the president, if I was the president, that could have been the topic I put on the question. How many counties do we need? And that could actually reduce the burden. Secondly, what I would have done, you know, these politicians, if you look at the vehicles they're arriving with in Homa Bay, you ask them, say, oh my God, are these different people from Kenyans? Do you know what I'll do, Mumbi? We need to review this politicians' remuneration and calculate them with the GDP. You know, you cannot be running a county that everybody is hungry, where the salary disparity between you and the average citizen is from here to Timbuktu. We need to ensure that if you're running a county, the GDP is growing by 2%, your salary should grow by 2%. You cannot be having everything, yet everybody has nothing. The inequality that should be solved by devolution cannot be solved when somebody is having a motorcade of 6 vehicles, somebody has no bicycle. We should have whereby at least bring your brother to own a motorcycle when you're owning 2 cars.
All right.
You can, we say in economics that at least someone should have 1 when you have 10.
Okay.
You cannot have 1,000 and somebody has 0.
Mr. Suba, did we really need 47 counties?
Yes and no, and let me tell you, at some point, they were even double that number. At some point, there was 74.
There was a proposal to
yes.
have...
Remember, our formula for coming up with the 47 was the District Act of 1990. You know, if you go back to the District Act of 1990, you'll find that we had 47 districts at that time,
right,
and even the boundaries, because we wanted to use a formula where, you know, people, a framework that people could relate to. So if people said now we'll be in Nyamira County, they once lived there when it was a district, so they know how it works. Because then there was a lot of all these, you know, ties, cultural, ethnic, and so on. You know, people with who have shared markets and so on and so forth. People have intermarriage and so on. So we said, instead of coming up with something completely new, and it was a very contentious thing. You remember that is when even the late Dr. Odhiambo Mbai, you know, lost his life. The contention around, you know, the boundaries of the counties. For example, you know, Elgeyo Marakwet. The Elgeyo wanted to separate from the Marakwet, and we said no. That's not the object of devolution. Devolution is to promote, you know, national unity by recognizing diversity. So if we are going to parcel out, you know, the TESO, for example, until recently, when Ojamong was about to leave county governance, that's when the TESO discovered that they need to have their own county.
All right.
Yet when, you know, when they were enjoying the largesse of the county, they never. So there were all these issues, but we used, the formula was the District Act of 1990.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to get your final remarks in a short while, but let's cross over to Studio A, where Theo Macharia is standing by with a few questions as well as some feedback. Theo?
All right, thank you so much, Mumbi Shege. Indeed, they say they can get sweeter at the bottom end, and as we near the closing of this edition, you know, quite a number of reactions continue increasing step by step or minute by minute every other time. Now, what's up is Buzz. Let's take a look at also what Kenyans have also reacted based on what we have handled tonight. Let's take this one. Remember the question of the day, we had asked whether devolution, or have you been empowered by devolution? How has devolution empowered you 13 years down the line? Now on WhatsApp, this is WhatsApp, Jackson says, despite devolution, garbage collection in estates is still inconsistent. That is Jackson watching us. We also have Patrick on WhatsApp. He says, there is too much duplication of roles between county and national government, wasting resources. That is Patrick watching us this evening. Josephine from Samburu says the county budget for pastoralist support is high, but actual services are minimal. Quite a concern there from Josephine. Collings from Trans Nzoia says youths are promised training programs that never materialize. Allow us end it from there to sample the comments and the feedback. Many thanks for tuning in and watching the People Dialogue tonight. I want to hand it over to you, Mumbi Shege, but before I just do that, there's a question here that once again has been posed to Professor Ogolla when he mentioned about the number of counties. So one of our viewers wants to understand, Professor, this evening, and they are asking, you've mentioned about the number of counties, so their question is, then should we merge them to become less, or should we increase them in number for better service delivery? As Professor answers this, my name is Theo Masharia. Many thanks for watching People Dialogue tonight. See you once again on another special coverage of the People Dialogue. Over to you, Mombi.
Thank you so much, Theo Masharia, for that good job and the feedback that's been coming in. And Prof, we did talk about that in terms of, you know, should the number of counties be reduced? And as you make a comment on that, you know, how do we then review devolution 5 years from now with everything, all the issues going on? 30 seconds, please. We don't have much time.
Mumbi, when we did the manifesto for Azimio, we came out with 11 regions, economic blocks that are related. If you ask me, there should be 11 counties in Kenya, because economy unites Kenyans. All these differences of tribes, what? No. I live in Kenya, I live in Nairobi, most of my neighbors are other communities, it does not matter. 11 counties. I can tell you that ODM did their regional manifesto. If there is anybody from Azimio listening, even Raila knows there are 11 economic blocks. Those should be the number of counties. Now, to review the devolution in Kenya, what was the intended goal? Was to bring resources closer to Mwananchi, creating jobs whereby even these things of rural-urban migration should reduce. It is not happening. Therefore, we should just check how much has it increased health outcomes, education outcomes. How have it grown our villages to become urban cities? If this is not happening and people are not able to deliver services to citizens, it is just the only way to measure. Don't measure by the number of PR people do.
Thank you so much. Mr. Suba, as we wind up, and what is it going to take for Kenya to get it right?
Just to say that I agree with the viewer who has said that the marginalized areas are getting so much resources, but a few elites have hijacked those devolved units and are exploiting and taking advantage of the ignorance of the majority. So that needs to be streamlined, and more empowerment needs to go to the people so that the demand side forces the supply side to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time for us. Professor Fred Ogolla, who is a governance expert, as well as Churchill Suba, who is also a governance expert. Many thanks, gentlemen, for making time for us. Indeed, thank you so much for being a part of this very important discussion as the Devolution Conference is going on in Homa Bay County. Asanteni sana to everybody who has been a part of this production. Thank you so much. That's where we wind up. Do have a good night.
Kameme TV, Muthegi wa Rũrĩrĩ.
If you give a little more than you take, and if you try.